You guys have waited long enough. I asked you in a shorts video if you wanted to see a full-length video on this thing. You said yes, and I feel like it's time I deliver. So what is this SMG? It takes Glock mags. And did I mention it's also a bullpup? That is so cool. As much as I would love to take credit for it, I did not design this model. This is a model designed by Tactical Index. More importantly, this is actually a body kit for a loved replica by everyone, the AAPO1, which is exactly why it's capable of taking Glock mags. We have a trigger, a bolt and a charging handle, a magazine release, and even the ability to throw on different threaded adapters. Now, believe it or not, I downloaded this off Colt 3D, and I'll share the download link in the description below. This was printed in ABS plastic at 100% infill and coated with a pickup truck bed liner for a more durable and grippy feel. And the bolt even locks back as it should. Where ABS is water resistant, and I absolutely love this design. He makes some crazy projects as well, so go check them out. Let's take this inside and show you how it all fits together. I partially disassembled the entire AAPO1 kit just so you can get an idea of how it all goes back together. The entire thing, I think, comes in 12 different pieces. You're going to have the grip, the stock pad. The receiver actually comes apart in 4 different pieces. You'll have the back right and the front right, and then the back left, and then the front left. Trigger to trigger bar connection point. The trigger is a separate piece. We'll go over that in a second. You're going to have your bolt connection that runs on the inside to your bolt handle. The outer barrel extension, and mine isn't fully screwed on. I'll explain that in a second. Lastly, little barrel shroud, and I'll explain that in a second as well, because this is for a separate part that I don't use. You can use it, but I don't. Started this project, and this was something that I found a little odd with the kit. You actually have to glue both of the front and back sides of the receiver together, and you use a small little piece of filament and insert it into the holes that are preset inside the print to help with connection alignment, and then you glue them. I actually used a plastic specific super glue that'll help mold plastic together. I wish that this could be printed in one part, like maybe there was a file that allows you to, because I think I have a printer that would be able to handle it if I printed it upright. It would just add for some more stability, but it doesn't seem to have much problems strength-wise yet. Following that, there were a few locations that I had to throw some threaded inserts into the receiver. I also had to do this in the trigger, and I also had to do this again in the handle of the bolt. And lastly, I had to get 2 pins and put them into the magazine connection points. These are where your mag releases go. The first mag release just lifts the top mag release, therefore pushing the top mag release down on the mag release that's already connected to the AAPO1, which is honestly kind of a genius design. Once that was all finished up, I began assembling, and the beauty of this entire kit, it is just an AAPO1, completely stock, as you would expect. There is nothing that you have to take off of this besides the thread adapter or the thread protector, and you can just slap this guy right into the kit, and it is friction fitted in. It's stuck right now because what you'll have to do is throw your bolt connection point in, your arm that goes to the bolt handle. You're going to have to screw in the bolt handle from the inside, place the AAP in, and then screw the bolt connection into the bolt of the AAP. And that, when we pull it now, is what allows us to, let me just take the mag out, that's what allows us to reciprocate the bolt. At that point, I threaded on my outer barrel extension. The only reason I left it partially threaded is so that it sticks out a little bit further, so I could have a decent amount of connection to get that tracer unit on. I wish this came in a slightly longer size, but I don't think it does. Moving forward now, it's actually not all that difficult. You're going to take the left side of your receiver and the new trigger and trigger connection point that you screwed together. you're going to slide them into that bar all the way at the bottom. And we're just going to push it, I believe, all the way up to start. Now, before we go any further, I actually don't have the screw for this right now because mine is a little short and it's been working just fine without it because there's a second screw that holds the grip in place. But this is one of the nuts that are going to allow you to screw a screw through the grip into the receiver. You're just going to drop this nut right there. Now, we'll take our other half of the receiver. Holding the AAP in place, I like to stick my finger into the magwell, and we're going to try and get the trigger bar through in front of the trigger, inside the trigger guard. And just keep in mind, it should fall together pretty simply with very little forcing, if that, but there's going to be some spring tension now because of the mag release, so it's going to want to push back against you, and I found it easiest just to throw the stock plate on because it helps sandwich the rear portion of the receiver together. And now we're going to start throwing in some of our hardware. The hardware is all going to be linked in the download link, so you can go ahead and check that out. The creator was nice enough to add all of those. I'm not going to include them because I don't want to mess it up. We're going to grab our 4 shorter screws to start off, and we're going to drop them into hole 1, hole 2, hole 3, and hole 4. And these 4 holes are the ones that are going to screw into those threaded inserts that we melted in place before. Next are 3 more screws and 3 nuts because these are going to go into the top holes, the 1, 2, and 3 of the receiver. And it's super easy to know which side they go into because the creator was nice enough to mold in slots for those nuts to sit in. You can glue those in if you want to. I don't recommend doing it. I personally think that you could just add a little bit of threadlock on these, some Loctite glue, and that'll be just fine. I like the ability to be able to remove them in case you ever, misthread something or they start to rust or whatever it be. I like to have the freedom to remove them if we need to. So we're just going to go ahead and toss those all in place. Next, mine popped off, but it's just a stock pad. We're going to take those nuts, drop them in the rear side, keep our fingers on them. We'll slide the stock pad over the back, and then you can just take 2 longer screws or bolts and toss them in the back of the stock. At this point, we throw on the grip. Now, like I said, there's a big bolt that's supposed to go in the base of the grip. For some reason, the one that I picked up was a little bit too short, and my hardware store just didn't have the right one. However, with the screw in the back, it seems to hold up pretty sturdy to begin with. And there's just another threaded insert on the other side of this that we already threw in, so we can just drop our bolt in place. Now we're going to get that little barrel nut on place. This guy's super cool. It only goes on one side, obviously, so you're going to have a printer that's able to handle some decently aggressive threads. But this will screw on to the front of the receiver, smushing the two together. Originally, the design of this nut is so that you can throw this guy on, which is also printable. It's in the files, and this just clamps down by 2 bolts and 2 nuts in the back, and that'll squeeze the receiver together and hold it in place via friction. I chose to not use this. I didn't really like the design of it because it was hard to find something that I wanted to fit on the inside of this that would come towards the end. So instead, I just throw my Ace Tech tracer on the end of it and call it a day, and that fits just fine over that outer barrel extension. There you have it. Throw the red dot back on. But that is the bullpup kit for the Tactical Index APO1, I guess, body kit? Or I guess you'd call it PDW. I'm not exactly sure. It is honestly a genius design, from the ability to index the mag right into the mag well, and this design that releases your mag. It's in the right place, completely solid. I love it. It's small, it's super tucked up into your armpit. This trigger is, it's a little mushy, but as you'd expect from a bullpup trigger, that's kind of just how they are, unfortunately. There's nothing you could do about that. But everything else is super sturdy, and like I said, I was worried that gluing the two together was going to lead to strength issues, but that also just doesn't seem to be the case. One thing that I do wish, and I think there's another file in there that you can print one that has it, is that you can adjust the select fire. I think it has a big box on one side that you can access, and you can get your finger in there, stop the bolt back, and you can adjust it. but I didn't print that one. I didn't see it. I'm not sure. Maybe it's like an updated file, but I remember seeing a photo of it, so it's probably available. Now, to adjust the hop up, one challenge you're going to have is obviously you have to break into the AAP in order to adjust the hop up sometimes, right? It's really, really hard to get in there and adjust it with your finger now. But I think something like a Nexus speed hop might solve that problem, because you'd be able to get in there and just it'd have that dial right up at the top of the AAP01 instead of being all the way against the far wall, and you have less space now because of this guy. Or even a TDC, a top-down center, so you could pick up like one of the Stalker design hops and just drill a hole through the roof of the body kit, and then you can adjust it with an Allen key. So that might be food for thought.